Hey, how you doing? So today I want to talk about something that's going to make a huge difference to your bass playing. And if you really are striving to be a better bass player and are dedicated to get your bass playing to that next level, you've got to listen. There's one thing that we should all be working on as bass players. It's absolutely critical to what we do, and that is groove, getting a great time feel and a great internal time feel. I'm going to talk about how you do that in this video, and a great knowledge of how to create bass lines, great bass lines and fills. It's just, as bass players, it's at the top of our skill set. We need to have this down, and without it, trust me, the gigs are not going to come. Unfortunately, they're not going to come, but trust me when I say, if you do have this stuff down, the gigs will come. The unfortunate thing is that I see student upon student upon student not working on these vital things. And I get it, it's a little ambiguous. How do you, become great at creating bass lines? How do you get a great internal time feel? It's hard to put your finger on, and it's really hard to come up with exercises that are going to help you do that. Well, this is exactly what we're going to be working on in this 3-part video series. If you haven't heard of who I am, my name is Subdivide, and I am creator and founder of the largest and fastest growing educational platform online right now for bass players. And I've been teaching for, it scares me to say this, over 20 years. And my students have ranged from complete beginners right through to guys that are working in Broadway, on the West End and touring the world. So my experience with students is right across the board, and over the last 20 years I've been lucky enough to not only work with hundreds of students but thousands of students in that time. And the concepts I'm going to cover in these next 3 videos have helped out so many of my students really knuckle down and push their bass playing to the next level extremely fast. And it's all to do with a simple formula and the way you apply that to the bass. Now, if you're not studying groove already, bass lines, working on your internal time, trust me, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. And I've seen bass players work for years, practicing for years on the wrong things. In fact, countless students come to me with that exact problem. Hey, they come to me, Scott, I've been practicing hours. I've been doing this for a year, 2 years. I don't seem to be making any progress. And unfortunately, it's because they're practicing the wrong stuff. It's really easy to do this. So I'm really going to, in this 3-part video series, I'm really going to put you on a straight path to getting, start getting you so you can create your own great grooves, so you can work on your own time feel, and you can understand. And understanding is sometimes the key to it all. Understanding how to move forward is the key. It's when you don't understand how to push your playing forward, that's where the problems occur. Now, talking about groove, I want you to think about, your favourite players, whether it be Victor Wooten, Stanley Clarke, right through to Michael League of Snarky Puppy, Robert Trujillo from Metallica. Any of these guys, and any of the guys, the top players that you think of, will have fantastic internal time. They will have fantastic groove, which is just, the proof is in the pudding. And unfortunately, I have seen countless bass players, not only students that come to me, but bass players that I've watched live, bass players that I've seen playing with bands on TV, where I'm just like, oh no, you didn't do that, did you? Oh no, you're not doing that. And it's, it's so unfortunate that they're making them silly mistakes when all it would take is a little tweaking here and there, and the right mindset and thinking about the stuff in the right order when creating bass lines to completely eradicate all them little issues out of their bass playing and really nail down some solid grooves and get their internal time feel so it's really, really happening. Now, let's cut to the chase. You've got 2 choices. You can either, keep on the track that you are doing, go down that track, do a little bit of guesswork and hopefully make it on your own, or you can come with me in this 3-part video series, and I'm going to show you a really, really great structured way of constructing bass lines and building your own internal time. So let's get to the whiteboard. Okay, we're here at the whiteboard and I'm feeling a little bit more important because I've got the whiteboard. It reminds me of being a teacher. Can you remember old school guys watching this? Old school guys and gals, you remember the old blackboards. Denmark, can you remember the blackboards?
Yes, kind of.
He's lying, he can't remember the blackboards. We can remember chalk. But anyway, so we've got the whiteboard today and I'm armed with my trusty pens. And I'm going to use this to point it. I'm not really. I'll put it down until I need to use it. I thought I'd just, get them out for some reason. First of all, we need to figure out what groove actually is so we can isolate it and work on it. Okay, does that make sense? We need to figure out what groove is so we can isolate it and then really, knuckle down and work on that as a thing in its own entity. Now, if I ask you what groove is, I want you to think about it, okay? What is groove? What is groove? Is it that is a groove, but what's groove? Now, if you're anything like me, you'll be a bit hazy about it, and that was definitely where I was when I started contemplating this, because I knew that I really wanted to work on my bass lines and grooves and getting them to the next level. But I just really wasn't sure how to do that because I'm a really kind of analytical guy. I like to sort of like map things out, keep practice logs. I think about strategy a lot with everything I do. Even when it comes to learning bass, I had a strategy. Okay, so what's the strategy of becoming better at creating bass lines and really getting my internal time up to scratch and working on my groove? Well, I was a little bit fuzzy around the edges, to be fair, because I didn't really understand what groove was until it finally dawned on me. Okay, so I want you to take this one bit of information with you. If you forget everything about this entire video series, okay, I want you to remember this one bit of information, okay? Groove has nothing to do with notes. Okay? Groove has nothing to do with notes. Groove is rhythm. And it dawned on me listening to drummers. Okay? Now, I was driving along in the car, and in fact, in the full groove formula program that I'll tell you about later on in a later video, I'll tell you the full story, but essentially, I was driving along in a car, and a track came on the radio and I was listening to it and I thought, wow, that is funky and that is so groovy. It's really grooving. And then I was just like, hang on, there's no notes. It's just rhythm. And I just want to play you that track actually, just so you get a feel for what I'm talking about. Check it out. I want you to just tell me if this grooves. Does that groove? Yep. Now think of all the other songs that have drum intros. Do they groove when the drums come in? Superstition, does that groove? Yep. Funky Drummer by James Brown, does that groove? Yep. And that's when it dawned on me that groove has nothing to do with chord tones. They've caught me. Maybe. It's got nothing to do with chord tones. It's got nothing to do with scales. It's got nothing to do with, chromatic passing tones. It's just, everything to do with rhythm. And even more than that, if we wanted to go even deeper into it, it's actually, groove is really focused on repeated rhythms. It's really focused on repeated rhythms. And what you'll find is if you listen to some of the most popular, so for instance, we can take Beat It. Is that Beat It, Denmark? Beat It? No, Billie Jean. If you take Billie Jean, Denmark's the guy behind the camera, but he's the boss really, Yeah, what a cool name Denmark is, right? If you take Billie Jean, listen to it, you'll find that the entire song is created from repeated rhythms. The drummer is playing a repeated rhythm. That's why it grooves so much. Then the bass line comes in. It's a repeated rhythm, okay? Then the keys come in. It's a repeated rhythm. And then the vocal lines and the guitars come in, and they're all repeated rhythms, and they're all layered on top of each other. And that's why that tune and so many tunes, like Superstition by Stevie Wonder, these tunes groove so hard and they're so in the pocket because they're just layered, repeated rhythms. And it's when you understand that and start thinking about rhythm first before any notes or anything like that, that's when you start getting a real feel for how you can work on your groove, playing in the pocket, getting your internal time feel together, because you understand that it's nothing to do with chord tones, scales, passing tones, pentatonics, whatever scales you're working on right now, it's nothing to do with those. It's just to do with rhythm. Now, bearing that in mind, we need to start working on our rhythm so we can get a really strong rhythmical concept together and then just add our chord tones and our scales and our pentatonics into the mix. Okay, we need a really strong rhythmical concept to be able to do that. And the way I like to do it is using something called the groove grid, which I'm going to draw on this lovely whiteboard in a minute. I've got a white hand actually. Can you see my hand? Does it just fade away? You can see my hand. I thought I'd have an invisible hand there. So I use something that's called the groove grid, and it's just a great way of visually representation. It's a visually representing a measure of time. So for you guys in the UK, that'll be a bar of time. For you guys everywhere else, it's called a measure of time. They like to, complicate things by giving things two different names, okay? So a measure of time. And we divide that up into subdivisions, and then understanding how those subdivisions work is really going to help our rhythmical concept. So I'm going to draw a groove grid on the board, and Denmark will probably fast forward this bit. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got a pretty weird looking, it's like a graph with 1, 2, 3 and 4 written on, okay? So these are beats of the bar. We're in a 4/4 time signature, okay? So 4 beats in the bar, okay? And these are our beats. This is our measure of time. And this line here is essentially the same one here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But I've written it like this and here because the beats 1, 2, 3 and 4, they're not specific points. There's gaps in between them, gaps of time in between them. And we can subdivide this, and we should be subdividing this internally when we play, okay? And these subdivisions are essentially half like this, and on these we call these the upbeats, okay? The upbeats. So now we can count it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now it's worth keeping in mind that the 1, 2, 3 and the 4, they stay in the same place, okay? So if I was to click it, and you can try this out at home, yeah? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I want you to keep clicking and counting 1, 2, 3 and the 4, but I want you to add the ands in. But I only want you to click 1, 2, 3 and the 4, okay? So don't click the upbeats, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we're feeling that in an eighth note groove, okay? So we're not feeling 1, 2, that would be feeling in quarter notes because we've split the bar into quarters, we're adding in the upbeats, which gives us 8 subdivisions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, this will all make sense in a minute. Okay, now we could create a great rhythm over this and then just add, we could just mess around with one note on this rhythm, okay? But because I want to fit this on in this video, we're going to subdivide it once more and then we'll work through the subdivisions we can use, okay? So we took the 1, 2, the 3 and the 4, we halved them, which gave us the upbeats, and then we're going to half it again to get the 16ths, okay? So let's do these in red. Oh. So again, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got the upbeats. I'm just going to go into, these are the upbeats. Okay. And then we're going to half the subdivisions again. And this will give us our 16th subdivisions. Do you think I could have been in art class? Probably. I think maybe it was something I missed out on. So these are the 16ths. Again, we've just halved them again. And when counting these, it's really important to verbalise when we count, because verbalising really instills this rhythmic thing that we're trying to create inside us. E, A, E, A, E, A, squashed, E, A. Okay, so we originally started off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. We added the upbeats 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we moved on to and put the 16ths in. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1. So these are super common subdivisions, guys. You need to be feeling this internally. You know, when I'm playing something such as when I'm playing something such as that, pretty groovy, I'm feeling this internally. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and even if I'm playing just quarter notes, there I'm actually feeling really strongly the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. I'm really feeling that 1 and 2 and, but still underlying under that is a 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4E and if I was to create any bass fills to go along with that, whatever it was, it would definitely be based on this grid, on this 16th note groove grid, okay? So you've got to really be concentrating on internalising this so it's really instinctual. And there's loads of exercises you can do to do that. What I like to do is using clapping exercises. So you could, for instance, off the top of my head, tap your foot on 1, 2, 3 and the 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So my foot's tapping on 1, 2, 3 and the 4. And then we could count the 1, 2, the 3 and the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Let's clap the hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So using rhythmical exercises like that is, you know, it's a big deal. It can really, really push your playing to the next level. In fact, one of the biggest leaps I ever had personally with my bass playing is when I subbed for a percussion player. It was a friend of mine called me and said, you know, this guy's dropped out. Can you come and do this last minute? And I was like, I'm not really a percussion player at all. And he said, trust me, you know, just sit in the background and do your thing. It'll be fine. We just really need some, you know, we need you to fill the numbers. So I went along, sat in, and over a couple of weeks, that period, I was given a drum to take home and practice on. When I came back to picking up my bass and playing it in a gig, I felt that was one of the sort of like strongest times where my playing had just leapt forward. And again, why was that? It's because everything we play, guys, is based on rhythm. Everything we play, without rhythm, we have nothing. We just have random notes, okay? And what had I been doing over that 2-week period, playing the drums? I'd been working just specifically on rhythm. Nothing to do with bass or notes or anything like that, just to do with rhythm. So I really recommend trying to, you know, come up with your own rhythmical exercises as well. Stuff like I've just shown you. Let me think of another one. So that we counted out the 1, 2, 3 and the 4, and then we clapped on the ands, the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And what happens if we clap on the E's? 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E, 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1. What happens if we clap on the as? Okay, so we're clapping on all the as. So at first, let me just write this on. At first we did on all the quarter notes, and then we moved the claps to the ands, and now we're moving the claps to the E's, and this time I'm going to try and put them on the as. Now, why is clapping so important? Well, clapping is really important because we're feeling it with our entire body. When you feel rhythm with your entire body, we're just using the bass as a conduit, as a, you know, this is our chosen instrument, but, you know, rhythm is internal. So if you have great internal time, you'll have great internal time. It doesn't matter what instrument you play, okay? So, and we have to study it in that way. We can't think to ourselves, well, I'm going to have great internal time on bass. We need great internal time. So this time we're going to clap on the as, okay? So we've done 4 exercises. We did it on the 1, we did it on the ands. Now we did it on the E's. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. So what I'm doing is, just to run over this, I'm tapping my foot on the 1, 2, 3 and the 4. I'm verbalizing the subdivisions, and then I'm clapping on the different subdivisions. This time we're going to clap on the as, okay? 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a. Okay, so 1E and a, 2E and a. Make sure you have the foot going. 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a, 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a, 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a, 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a 1. Now, let's run through each one. I'll do one of each. We'll start on the ones, then we'll move to the upbeats on the ands, then the E's, and then the as. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E, the 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1, 2. I'll do it again because I messed up that last time. 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that exercise might seem really simple, but trust me, it will really, really pay off if you get it down. Remember to just, get 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure that you've got that foot counting on 1, 2, the 3, and the 4, and then you alternate the claps, first on the ones, then on the upbeats, then on the E's, and then on the A's. Okay, so that gives you, it means you're really feeling the beat on every subdivision there is within the groove grid. Okay, so how do we get this onto the bass? Okay, so that's what we're going to look at next in this lesson. Okay, so how do we use this to create bass lines? Well, all we need to do, and this is how simple it is, guys. Remember that I said a groove is created by rhythm. Okay, it's nothing to do with notes. So for my first example, I just want to concentrate on one note, and off the top of my head, let's make it a G. Okay, let's make it a G. Now the first thing we need to do is work out what rhythm the bass line's going to be. And just to prove my point, I haven't used the green one, let's make it feel welcome. Just to prove my point, I'm just going to randomly put a rhythm on here. Let's see, so 1 and 3, put on there, and then maybe on all of these. Okay, so, and trust me, this was completely random, so you just pick a rhythm, and you can fill in, you've got a copy of this, so you can just fill in whatever you want, just pick a rhythm. Mark some X's on it. So let me just clap now what this is, because I've got no idea what it's going to sound like. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3. Da, da. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3. Da, da. 1, 2, and 3, and da, da, da. Okay, so 1, 2, and 1, 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1, 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a ba 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 da da ba 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 ba. Okay, so for this example, that is going to be what we're going to use for our bass line. Okay, so ba 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 da 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 ba 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 da 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 ba 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 da da da. And I want you to count this along with me, guys, and I want you to feel the downbeats. It's really important that we feel where the 1, 2, 3, and the 4 is. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3. Da 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 da. Okay, so that's all we've done is we've just marked out some random crosses where the claps is going to be on the groove grid, and then we've applied, clapping, and we're counting. Now, what does that sound like on the bass? We said we'd start with G, okay, so it's going to sound like, what's G? Boom. So it's going to sound like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, sounds like a cool one-note bass line. Obviously, we're going to develop it from there. But as you can see, what I did was concentrate on rhythm first. It's really important. And what's also is really important is that we have a visual reference of what that rhythm is. Now, what you'll find is guys that can read music generally have a very, very good sense of music subdivisions, okay? They feel them really well. And it's because they read music and they have a visual reference of what that subdivision looks like. Now, if you can't read music, this is kind of leaving you at a big disadvantage because you can't see what a subdivision looks like, you know, where this system here really helps us, you know, knuckle down and really see exactly where those subdivisions lie. So if we're struggling with it at all, we can just slow it down. You know, we can come up with so many ideas using this simple grid. This is just one idea, okay? So again, let's just use that rhythm. We'll clap it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and a 1, 2, and 3, and a 1, 2, and 3. On the bass. Okay, make sure you get this one here. This is a tricky one. 1, 2, and 3, E, and at 4, E, and a 1, 2, and 3, E, and at 4, E, and a 1. Make sure you're not playing this one here on here. Okay, these E's and the A's are always the hardest ones for people to get initially. Because, and especially if you've been playing rock music, because it's very much based on the 1, the ands, the 2, the ands, 3, and the ands. It's based on 8th. And when you start getting into more complex rock music, you will find a lot of the E's and ands all over the place. So it's really going to benefit you from studying this kind of stuff. In fact, guys, you know, this is completely like whatever you play, whether it's rock, country, blues, metal, jazz, funk. You need to know this. This is absolutely, you know, Rhythm 101. You need to know this stuff. So we've played it on here. Now, let's hear it along with the drum beat and see what that sounds like so we can hear it in the context of the drum beat. And then once we've done that, I'm going to add some notes to it and just give you a glimpse of what we're going to be talking about in lesson 2. Here we go. 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the bass. So you can see there how, you know, it sits really well with the drums. Now here I'm not taking into consideration what the kick drum's doing on the drum track, and that is a conversation for a different time. But what I'm doing is I'm just taking this simple rhythm that I had no idea what this rhythm was going to sound like before. I mapped it out, I gave it a note, and then just simply played some bass notes on it, and it created a bass line. Now, what happens if there was a chord, okay? What happens if there was a chord under there? What happens if I wanted to, you know, give it some harmony? What happens if the chord was a G minor 7 chord? Okay. What happens if it was a G minor 7 chord that was underneath that drum track? Well, then all I'd do, first port of call, I don't want to get into this too much in this lesson because this is what we're going to be talking about in the next lesson, but I'm going to do a little teaser for you anyway. If we were using, if the keyboards were playing a G minor, okay, the guitar player was playing a G minor, and we wanted to outline the, you know, that G minor 7 sound, we take the G minor 7 chord tones, which are G, B flat, D, and F, and then we simply plug those into that rhythm. Okay, we plug the chord tones into that rhythm in any order. Now, this is a really systematic way of creating a bass line, and I haven't put any, you know, there's no magic going in here. I'm literally just doing this off the top of my head as an example of how easy this system is, okay? So imagine that there was a G minor chord in the background and we wanted to create a bass line to go along with that. Yes, we could play the... We could play that, but we want more. We want to outline the G minor. So we take the chord tones from the G minor 7, which is a G, B flat, D, and F. It's a simple arpeggio, okay? G, B flat, D, F, and then G, okay? And then B flat, D, F, G, B flat, D, and my imaginary F right there, okay? So we've got these chord tones all over the fingerboard. If you don't know what chord tones are, it simply means the tones, okay, from the chord. Tones from the chord. That is exactly what an arpeggio is, but an arpeggio is played in order. Where with the chord tones, you can play them in any order you want, okay? They're the same thing. Arpeggios and chord tones, the same thing, okay? So now let's get these and plug them into this rhythm, okay? So ba 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 da ba da ba 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 da da ba. Okay, so wow, we've got so many options. Let's say we've got a G here, a G here. I know you guys, this is turned into a bit of a bird's nest. G. So let's just imagine the first 3 notes, bom, 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 are all Gs, okay? Let's make that top one an octave, okay, just for a bit of variety. Now we've got 4 notes, ba, ba, da, 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 ba, 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 da, da, ba. Okay, so let's use any of these notes to give us this. So what we're going to use, let's go, what about going down the arpeggio? So what happens if this was a F, D, B flat, and a G, okay? So all I'm going is down the ba, ba, da, da, ba, 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 da, da. Okay, so G, what am I doing? Go F, D, B flat, G. Okay, F, G, F, D, B flat, G. So, ba, ba, da, da, ba, ba, dee, da. Okay, so that's what that sounds like. Ba, ba, da, 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 dee, da, da, ba, dee, dee, da, ba, ba, be, ba, be, dee, da, ba, ba, be, ba, be, dee, da, da, ba, be, ba, be, dee, da, ba, ba, be, ba, be, dee, da, ba. That's what that bass sounds like. That bass line sounds like. It's a great bass line, okay? So, and again, 2, 3, 4. As an example, why don't we just completely mix this up and do something else? On this note, we could actually, let's just take these notes again and let's mix them completely up. Let's make sure that the G's the first one. What should the second one be?
B flat.
B flat's the second one. Okay, so B flat's the second one. That's the second one, guys. Here's a third one. I'm going to choose D for that one. Denmark, choose a fourth one. F. I'm going to choose, how many have we got left? So that's 3 left. F. Let's do 2 Fs. Fs. What's the last 2, Denmark?
D, B flat.
D and B flat. Okay. So as you can see, guys, This is just totally, you know, random. Okay, so G. So let me just work out. So the best way to do this is work out the fingering first. So G. Oh, there we go. G, B flat, D, F, F, D, B flat, bo, 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 ba, ba, dee, dee. Okay. Yeah, 2, 3, 4. That was up an octave. Okay, so instant cool, thanks for that DMAC. Instant cool bass lines, right? Now, trust me guys, we're just touching the surface here. So in this lesson, we've learned that, you know, groove is rhythm. Groove is repeated rhythms, actually. It really gets strong when you use repeated rhythms. We need, as bass players, to have a super strong rhythmical concept. This stuff, 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4 and a, this needs to be ingrained in you. This needs to be ingrained in you more than anything's ingrained in you. You need that to really push your bass playing to the next level. That's the key. That's the key. You need to be able to subdivide all this stuff supernaturally. In fact, in the full groove formula program that I'll tell you about in a few videos time, in the full groove formula program, I've got a full module, I think 9 lessons, possibly 12. I think it's 9 lessons where we completely put down our basses and work on rhythmical concept, okay, and subdivisions and how to internalize it. The weird thing is, it's not super hard stuff. It's just nobody really does this. Nobody really teaches this specifically to bass players, but I do, and I've seen absolutely amazing results with this, guys. So whatever you do, just understand that groove is rhythm, it's repeated rhythm, and you need a really strong rhythmical concept. Then what did we do? Then we just came up with a simple, you know, rhythm. We learned to clap it. I went through some exercises of how to clap it. Then we added a note to it. We chose the note of G, or I chose the note of G. And then we decided that we were going to try and outline a G minor 7 chord. Here was the chord tones. And then we did a crazy experiment up here where Denmark and I just threw some random notes out and again just assigned the notes to the rhythm, and again instant great bass line. This system, guys, is just the tip of the iceberg though. You can push this so much further, you know, and hopefully, you know, you're going to stick around for the next lesson as well, because there is, you know, things are going to get real fun. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed this first lesson. In the next lesson, I'm going to be talking about groove stacking. And this is, you know, I'm going to be talking about what order you need to be thinking about things in to really, you know, get your grooves working so it's a really efficient system for you when you get put in any situation. I want you to think, piece of cake, I can just use this system and I'll create a great bass line or groove. And also I'm going to be talking about scales, adding what the concepts we've been talking about today into, you know, how to use them with chords, multiple chords, and how to use articulations as well. Well, I'll be touching on articulations because there's some great articulations that you should really have at your disposal, but we'll be talking about that in video 3, but I'm going to touch on it in the next video. So now what I want you to do is go down, you know, hit like, we all love likes, right? Hit like, hit share underneath this video. And what I'd really like you to do, guys, is, you know, leave a comment. Let me know what you're working on right now. Let me know if you're working on grooves, if you're working on your internal time feel. Let me know what you've learned from this video, and let me know what you're looking forward to when we do the next video as well, so I can go through the comments and tailor that lesson specifically for you guys. So hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, and I'll see you in the shed.